Well, hello and welcome to day 2. So you can see Sprinkling Tarn behind me there. The plan for this morning is to head up towards Great End, which you currently can't see because it's in all that clag behind me. So I'm looking forward to getting up there. Hopefully it'll clear on the way up so we can get some decent views from the top. So I'll bring you back shortly when we're on our way up to Great End summit. Well, you can tell it's day 2. The legs do not want to get going this morning at all. We've only done a little short ascent up from Sprinkling Tarn back onto the main path, and yeah, that was a struggle getting the legs moving this morning. Well, we're making steady progress this morning. You can just about see Sprinkling Tarn in the distance there where we've headed up from, and shock, no change in the forecast. It is still raining. Well, it's tough going today. Conditions are not great at all. Day 2 legs, feeling a little bit stiff, a little bit tired. But, you know, it's good to be out, and we'll push on, and I'll bring you back when we get to Great End. I'll tell you what, you can barely see the path we've just come up, but it's a fair old slog this. Just to head up into all that clag. What a treat. Well, here we are then, top of Great End. It's a proper slog to get here, and we've been rewarded with these views of absolutely nothing. What do we do it for, eh? If it's not for the views, what do we do it for? No, it's a sense of achievement, isn't it, for getting up here, one of the highest peaks in the country. Like I said earlier, I was feeling a little bit flat, struggling for some energy after a long day yesterday. But yeah, it feels great to be up here. So we're just going to have 5, have a bit of a wander around, have a drink, probably take on an energy gel, have a good look round, and then we'll put a plan together for heading back down and see if we can hit another summit. Well, it's just clearing up down in the valley, and it's still very windy. Eddie making the most of it there, taking a quick selfie. It's just starting to cloud over again, but some of the views, absolutely brilliant. Makes it all worth it coming all this way. Well, here we are then, summit of Hill Crag, and as you can see, once again we've been presented with tremendous views of absolutely nothing. Superb. We've picked a great day for it here. It's windy as anything, just clag. So I think we'll leave it there for that one. Well, we're just heading up towards Allen Crags now. When we were on the top of Great End, we did sort of notice there's 3 little tarns at the top that look to be quite sheltered. The wind seems to have died down for the moment. I know, famous last words, but it is forecast to pick up again a little bit later on, so we're going to head for those 3 tarns and have a good look around, see if we can potentially spot a couple of pitches for tonight. We're going to drop the bags off there as well, see if we can just stick them to one side and head out towards Glaramara, which once we've been up Allen Crags will then be the 4th peak of the day. So I think by the time we've headed up there, we'll be ready for putting our feet up and having some food and a nice bottle of red wine. The summit of a very windy Allen Crags. There's the views round to Great End and round to Sprinkling Tarn over there in the distance where we camped last night. So we had a quick look at the tarns that we'd earmarked on Allen Crags. Not really suitable. Either the ground was very, very damp after the rain we've had, or there was just no protection from the wind. I mean, it's not too bad at the minute, but it is forecast to pick up overnight, so we didn't really think it was suitable to be putting the tents there, so we're going to push on and see if we can find anywhere else. Well, we've drawn about 7 blanks so far with pictures that we'd earmarked before we came, and places that we've passed on the way. I mean, you can watch as many YouTube videos as you want of these kind of areas and Google Maps and do your research, but what that won't show you is, you know, conditions underfoot from recent weather, or, you know, wind condition, you know, the direction of the wind and any potential cover and getting out of that wind. So we're now just shy of the summit of Glaramara, so we're going to push on to the summit there, have one last little look around, see what the weather's like, maybe just have a bit of a break there, take on some food and water, and then if push comes to it, maybe have a look at dropping down a little bit lower towards Seathwaite. Finally, the wild camping gods have sent us a gift. Just over the back of the summit of Glaramara, so we've got this nice high rock face here that's going to keep us pretty much out of the wind, and some dry, relatively flat ground. There's also the added bonus just over that wall there, a nice big freshwater tarn, so we've been and grabbed some water. It should do us for tonight for a couple of meals, because we're both starving, and a good drink, make sure we stay hydrated. Well, that's the view from the pitch. Not bad, I'd say. I'm not going to do much filming tonight because, to be honest, I'm absolutely shattered. It's been a really long day. Plenty of summits, plenty of distance covered. Eddie was running his Strava, so we'll get the figures at some point and I'll do a little reflection. But yeah, I'm just going to sit, chill out, take in these views and just reflect on another day in the mountains. Well, the temperature's really dropped now. That wind's picked up, but still not too bad, touch wood. I mean, we're in a nice sort of sheltered area, so it shouldn't be anything too dramatic if it does pick up during the night. I mean, it's not even late. It's about 7:30, I think, but we've been on the go all day. It's been a really long day. Lots of challenging walks, plenty of summits. So I think I'm going to get me warm clothes on, do a bit of admin, make sure I've got all my rubbish and everything squared away for the morning, get packed up anything that I know I won't need between now and us leaving in the morning. I think the plan is to be up pretty handy if we can, get everything squared away and head off early doors. You know, we've got a fairly long day again tomorrow. The drive home, well, for me, will be probably the best part of 3.5 hours with no traffic. So yeah, it'd be good to be away as early as possible. So I'll probably sign off here for the night, to be honest, unless anything interesting happens and I'll bring you back. I'll speak to you in the morning when we're packing up before we head off. Well, as you can see behind me, we are back at the van. So I've not done any filming this morning. Basically from about 10 o'clock last night, the wind really picked up, which we were expecting it to, but it brought with it a lot of heavy rain, which wasn't on the forecast. There was a few scattered showers around, but yeah, some really heavy deluges. So we made the call that we'd get up this morning and head off pretty much as early as we could, really. But then from around about 2 o'clock, we had some very sustained strong gusts, probably heading up towards double the forecasted speeds, which put a real spanner in the works. Managed probably about 3 hours sleep. So at first light, we both made the call that the priority then became getting off the mountain as quickly and as safely as possible. So yeah, there was no filming done this morning. I just wanted to make sure that both me and Eddie got off the mountain and back down to Seathwaite, like I say, as quickly and as safely as possible. So I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. If you have, please do give it a like, subscribe to the channel while you're there, you may as well, and leave me a comment. I do try and get back to all of those. It's good hearing from people that, you know, are like-minded and have been out and maybe done the same sort of fells and mountains that we've been up the last couple of days. So yeah, until the next one, stay safe and take it easy. Hello everyone. Now, I know you're probably not expecting to see my ugly mug again after me signing off the video when we were up in Seathwaite, but it's a week since we got back from that two-nighter up in the lakes, and I've just finishing watching back the second part of the video, which will go out live on YouTube tonight, and just finishing editing that. And whilst I was sort of watching it back in full, I found myself asking myself a fair few questions, sort of reviewing the video as I was going along, you know, things that I might have done differently or things that I'd have changed whilst we were there for the 2 days. And rather than just keep that to myself and sort of answer those questions in my head, I thought it'd be a good idea just to bring you folks along and just talk you through some of the thoughts that I've had whilst watching that back on things, like I say, that I might have done slightly differently. So the first thing I wanted to mention was food. So I took plenty of food with me, and I had more than enough food for the 2 days that we were there, but probably the wrong kind of food. So I took loads of dehydrated meals, which, as you saw from the first clip, I ate that of an evening, which is great. But what I sort of found was that I was lacking food to take on board quickly during the day, especially on that second day whilst we were, you know, trying to climb as many sort of peaks as we could whilst we were up in that kind of area. With all the best will in the world, you're not going to want to stop for that amount of time whilst, you know, you're in the moment and you're attacking them peaks. So thinking about it with hindsight, and now obviously having seen that video back, the process of, you know, stopping, getting out your burner, you know, setting all that up, putting up a windshield, boiling water, whether that takes 5 minutes, you know, and then allowing, say, 10 to 15 minutes for a dehydrated meal to rehydrate, and then another sort of 10 minutes eating it. You're easily talking 3/4 of an hour before you're on the move again. And as I'm sure you'll see, for us, the conditions weren't great. So to be stopping for that amount of time in those conditions, you're going to start to get cold, you're going to start to get stiff and start to seize up. And then to get going again once you've sat down, you know, for that kind of prolonged period of time isn't ideal. So like I say, having sort of gone through that experience and looking back, you know, as again, whilst I still put these videos out on YouTube, I am relatively new to the game. You know, I'm still on a limited number of camps, and getting up to these sort of higher grounds is still new to me. So this is all learning experience. So based on that, what I'd look at taking, especially for that second day while you're out and on the move, would be things like, you know, pepperoni, jerky, little different chicken packets and things that you can get from supermarkets. Things basically you can just open and eat on the move. Protein bars, cereal bars, you know, you're looking for something that's a combination of high in protein, high in carbohydrates, that's going to give you that energy to keep going on the move consistently. You know, you're burning a lot of calories when you're up and down, especially on that higher ground, you know, battling against wind. The terrain underfoot isn't always going to be perfect. So yeah, that was just the little sort of thought that I was given. You know, sweets, things that are high in sugar content, not too high because you don't want your glucose levels rising too much and causing a crash with your glycogen. So you do need to be careful, but sweets are good for that little short burst of energy. I did buy some wine gums and leave them on the sideboard at home, so the missus had eaten them by the time I got back on the Monday. But yeah, just again, little ideas, nuts, things like that, just stuff that you can get out of your bag, whether it be in a side pocket or on your belt, that's easy to hand, that, you know, you can just eat while you're on the move rather than having to sit down then and go through that process of getting your burner out, boiling water, dehydrated meal. Great for at night when you're stocked, you've set up camp, you're stationary, fine. But for that sort of, yeah, for the short term while you're out on the move, you want something that's quick and easy, you can get out of a pocket and eat on the move. The other point that I wanted to raise was water. So as you saw from the part one, I had my Katadyn B3 with me. So I had the functionality for filtering water, no problem. I also had a 2 litre hydro pack with me for storage. Obviously my B3 is the litre, and I also had a 500ml hydro pack bottle as well. So I had plenty of storage for water. Now, because we'd earmarked a couple of points where we felt that we could get water later on in the walk, I bypassed a couple of water sources, fresh water sources coming down off Great End and that kind of area, which in hindsight, again, a terrible move, you know. Like I've said, I had the functionality to carry up to sort of 3.5 litres of water with me. So what I should have done realistically was taken the hit on the extra kilogram of weight and just taken a litre. That way you've got that insurance policy there that if you don't see any further water sources, you know that you are set up there with a litre of water to take on board. You know, like we say, we'd seen a couple of tarns in the distance on Allen Crags and a little bit further afield that we'd earmarked as being great water sources. And when we got to them, you know, there was one that was a little bit stagnant, which I didn't fancy taking water from, and another one where we couldn't actually physically get down to the water because the ground was that boggy in and around it. So again, sort of, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect scenario. And like I say, in hindsight, I should have picked up a litre when I had the opportunity to do so and carried that with me. So another thing that I've learned, again, with that being my first sort of multi-day hike, is that, you know, don't pass up an opportunity at a water source. Take the hit on carrying the extra weight and just guarantee yourself that water. Because as we were approaching sort of Glaramara, I was sort of in a situation where I had 400 ml of water left, and I was sort of thinking, you know, shall I drink this because I was starting to feel a little bit dehydrated, or do I save this in case I can't get any further water and then I can have a dehydrated meal once we've set up camp. Now, as I'm sure, well, you've already seen that we did find a camping pitch for the night that did have a water source nearby, so there was no issue. But in that moment, you know, where I'm sort of weighing up that 400 ml, having already passed water sources, that all could have been avoided by, yeah, like I say, just picking up a litre and a half maybe, just to avoid that scenario. And the other thing I did want to discuss while I've got you here is your equipment. So it's not just a case of having confidence in your equipment, but it's also having confidence in your ability to use that equipment effectively in a range of different scenarios. Now, I have my Cloud Peak 2 with me. Now, I've got a lot of confidence in that tent in the wind, and I've used it in some pretty horrendous wind, as you'll have seen on the video that I put together at Buttermere. So I have confidence in that tent performing in the wind and keeping me safe, and not only that, but allowing me to get some sleep in those blustery conditions. Now, what I would say is that I have used that tent in a range of conditions, so I'm confident in my ability with that tent to take it up and to put it down, whether that be in high winds, rain, etc. You know, I know from pitching that tent in those scenarios that I can confidently, safely and effectively pitch and take down that tent in those conditions. Now, the other thing is your sleeping pad. So this Thermarest Neo Air X Lite that I've got is new to me. However, I know that, you know, from doing research, that pad performs well in all conditions. You know, I've seen people using that in the snow, so I know that the temperatures that pad is capable of withstanding were more than enough for this trip that me and Eddie went on. Your sleeping bag. Now, you know, people go on about sleeping bags are rated down to -3, for example. Now, that -3, whilst it's lab tested and will be effective for certain people, doesn't always count for everyone. So people feel the cold differently. Natural. Now, there's other things that may affect that, you know, dehydration, energy levels, how much food have you had? How far have you walked? You know, are you tired, fatigued? All that will go into your temperature and how much, how cold you can withstand. Now, have you tested your sleeping bag in those conditions? You know, like I say, -3 rated sleeping bag, you might get to 3 degrees and feel absolutely freezing. Now, again, you have got to have the confidence in your kit to know that you are going to be able to withstand those conditions that you are facing. With the winds that we had that night, you know, whilst the temperature was forecast to drop to around about 3 degrees, I'm sure with the wind chill in those gusts, it will have been a lot colder. Now, what I've since done since we got back is pick up this. So to those who might not have seen one of these before, this is a Skywatch Explorer 2. So what that is a wind speed meter. So that'll tell you, you know, the gusts that you're facing and your wind speeds. But what that'll also do then is give you a revised temperature based on the wind chill. Now, that night that we were up there, I'd have loved to have seen some of the gusts and what recorded speeds, just purely to feed back to you guys to say, you know, we withstood 30-mile-an-hour winds. And whilst that might not mean a lot to people, it will sort of give you paint a picture of the kind of conditions that we were dealing with. So again, like I say, you know, your clothing, all these kind of things that factor into how you deal with those conditions. But you need to be in a position where you are confident that gear is suitable for the conditions that you are going to face. So like last minute, I threw in a pair of Gore-Tex mitts that I'd bought, and, you know, I thought it was absolute overkill. But that morning coming down, you know, it's sort of 6:30 in the morning coming down off Glaramara, they were more than needed because we were facing some really strong winds. still driving rain in a difficult sort of scrambly sections where, you know, I was having to get hands on that if I hadn't have had them, I think my hands would have really struggled. So again, it's, you know, not just being prepared for what is forecast, but going that little bit further to make sure that you are safe and comfortable whilst up in the mountains. What I also did say in this video when I was wrapping up in the tent that Eddie had his Strava running, so we'd have got that data to be able to feed back, you know, how far we'd covered over those 2 days. But unfortunately, Eddie's phone got water damaged when we were coming down on that Monday morning, which again gives you an idea of the conditions. So unfortunately we lost all the Strava data that we'd collected from those 2 days, so it's difficult to give you an idea of roughly how far we walked, but I'd probably say getting on for sort of 15 mile, which might not sound a lot to some people, but you know, for my first sort of 2-day trip, carrying probably 16 kilograms maybe in a bag, I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna hopefully do that for my next video, is once my bag is fully packed, I'll weigh it and see sort of what we're dealing with there. But yeah, so I'm unable to give you any sort of Strava figures, but hopefully you sort of enjoyed the little review and my sort of ideas and thoughts on your gear and things that are going to keep you safe out there. And finally, I just wanted to say a big thanks to Eddie. Obviously it's the first camp that I've recorded a video while I've been out with one of the lads. You know, it was great having him there for those 2 nights. The drone footage that you saw at the start of this video, that was kindly put together by Eddie. You know, he has only had the drone out a couple of times, so he's still sort of getting used to how that flies, and in some windy conditions he's done really well to get some pretty stable shots that I've been able to use. So yeah, big thanks to Eddie. And yeah, I think that's about it. I've probably bored you enough on this one, so we'll leave it there. So until the next one, stay safe and take it easy.
Well, if you live your life